Good evening, guys. I know we are between the drinks and a party, so we'll try to make it quick. But so, first of all, it's very ironical, right? That I've spent my entire life in performance marketing, where how do you reduce the price of a lead from 100 rupees to 80 rupees, and I've been asked to moderate a session on purpose. So, my kind of guys, right? It is almost like mumbo jumbo, right? What is purpose? Pata nahi, right? So, little bit of context I'll give you from my side. I wrote a book on happiness, and I was having a conversation with somebody, and he told me, so one guy who was in his 20s, the other guy was in his 40s. The guy in his 20s said that, I want to discover my why first. Like, how jo hai wo baad mein hoega, who baad mein hoega, but why do I exist? The guy was in his 40s, he says, like, pehle I want to become who, then I will discover my why later. And suddenly it struck me, so one of the chapters in my book is, how do you find your why and who together? Because they both form a flywheel with each other, and one improves the other. So my why has become, I want to make 100 million people happier. And my who has become, I want to be a digital entrepreneur that creates a new term that I heard recently called Decacorn, which is unicorn multiplied by 10. So the thing is that this flywheel exists. But I think as organizations, right, all of us, I think we need to find our purpose. And I'm sure that all of us have some view on the topic. So I'll start with you, Vani. What is your view on purpose, and how important do you think it is? Is it for all companies? And I think we'll start with just 2 minutes sort of view on the topic, and then we'll go into question answer thereafter.
So thank you so much for that. My view on purpose is that purpose is a good thing to have, but purpose has also been very badly used as a word. So what does purpose mean? Purpose means, why do I exist? Now, as a company, as a brand, my number one lookout is business. If all of us were entrepreneurs, what is the first thing we'd want? We'd want business. We'd want to make money. We want new consumers. How do you get new consumers? To get new consumers, you have to get people to get to know about you. You have to create awareness. People must know you exist, right? They must know what you sell. You must be available. Now, in all of that, when brands talk about purpose, or the way purpose is bandied around, to have some sort of a higher purpose, where purpose is equated to domestic violence, or transgender rights, or gay rights, or doing something for children differently abled, etc., etc. The point is, does it help sell? Yes, it's good to have purpose. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have purpose, but does it help sell? So the point I'm driving at is that yes, purpose is good to have, but have purpose when it is linked to the brand's offering. When it is linked to your functional delivery, then it makes sense both for the brand as well as the consumer. Then I know that you're not telling me a lie. You're not doing something only because it's a nice to do thing. You're actually offering me something that works. So if Lifebuoy says that my purpose is to eradicate disease by giving you better hygiene, I get that. You're making me wash hands, and in washing hands, I'm getting rid of germs, and hence you're preventing disease. That is a good purpose to have. So I'll let it rest at this, and more on this later. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think I was talking to somebody, I said, one of the purpose that organization must have is actually to make profit.
Yeah.
That unfortunately, lately we've been seeming to forget about that, and digital industry is responsible for it. But fact of the matter is that I think that's the primary purpose, right? And again, little plug for my company, Profit as a Service, Profit Wheel. That's what we're attempting to do for brands. Over to you, Atin.
So it's strange that when you started with Simon Sinek and now why his big thing is move away from profit and shareholder to more stakeholder and people. So I think that's where the whole idea of purpose is coming from. For us at Schneider Electric, we were named the most sustainable company in 2021, right? It comes very naturally to start looking at purpose from what we do because we are in the center of actually providing that kind of energy solutions, which is helping sustainability, which is empowering people with energy. While I agree till some point what Vani said, that purpose has to be driven from a functional attribute, I think purpose also theoretically means that how are you impacting from a financial point of view, more aligned to the UN SDG goals, or more from an ESG point of view. I think that is where brands are more and more driving. It cannot be something which you're communicating, okay? A brand can, as a company, have a purpose and not choose to communicate. But at a very basic level, if I'm selling you something, is that being built sustainability is now becoming more and more important, and that's where we marketers come in. It is not about selling something which is good, which is better, which is cheaper, which is stronger. But how do we get to the end product? Okay, meaning I could sell something which will make you 10 times more beautiful, okay, which for sure there are some brands doing. But if you have 80% of poverty people making that is where purpose comes in. And I think that's where marketeers have to start now working towards, is not from a communication point of view, but going back to a company and saying that, are you actually helping in building a more sustainable world, right? And that's a shift which we're seeing in brands. And I'll talk more about it once we get from a more data point of view as to why that's becoming more important. But again, purpose is not what, at least for me, it's not what you're serving to the customer, but purpose is actually how you're aligned to specific theoretical goals, which are also there in your financial statement, which, for example, in our case, the goals which we defined, which are in line with the UN SDG goals, are part of all our management's KPIs and their bonuses. Okay? That is where you take purpose at a different level for a company.
So I think somehow or the other, this reminds me of this very interesting thought. I was listening to Osho, and he said the religion of India, in a way, was created when India was abundant. And now the Westerners like the religion, but now we are living in a space of scarcity. So do you think that, is this meant for an abundant, generous, sort of affluent, developed countries where things like purpose, etc., play a more important role than a person whose basic Maslow laws of food, shelter, and clothing is not yet met? But quick answer, and then we'll pass it on to Viral.
Yes and no, okay, politically right answer. The emergence of purpose as a point of communication, as a point of a company's goal is definitely more in the Westernized society. I think they are more evolved in understanding. Remember, we are a generation who understands climate change, okay? But like everything else, which starts there first, it's very soon that it will come in India also, it'll come in Southeast Asia also, okay? So I agree with you, it's a more evolved Western concept right now, but considering COVID, considering global things, we are seeing that play out now in India also. There are enough things happening from an Indian point of view also.
Sure. What do you, Viral? Your 2 bits.
Thanks. I'll do the smart thing and just summarize what Vani and Atin have said. Yeah. But just to build on what Vani said, purpose is why we exist for others. Yeah, I think the for others becomes important because, and I agree with what Vivek said about profit being the ultimate motive. And let's not kid ourselves, whether we say it or not, that is what it is. However great the company is from a purpose point of view, the moment the third quarter of poor results comes, the CEO is going to say, the hell with purpose, get me the money first. So let's not kid ourselves. But I think there is a difference between the purpose that a larger corporate stands for, where it can B for whether it's ESG or some of those other ones, and what a brand stands for. And I think that's where the differentiation comes in. So for a brand, it's got to be something that's more relatable, that helps consumers see something more than just what the product delivers. But for corporate, obviously, there are agglomeration of various brands, businesses, and so on and so forth. And therefore, it's got to be something at 60,000 feet which can encompass all of this. So it's not a black and white. It's never simple trying to stand for one thing, because that one thing has to be something that covers everything in a manner of speaking. So like Atin said, for Schneider, it would be the UN SDG goals or ESG. But for a brand, it has to be something a lot more relatable. But yeah, more
So
on that.
one quick question I would like to ask you, Viral, is that, let's say for Profit Wheel, right? We are a startup. My mission, purpose is to remove sort of advertising expense from the profit and loss account and take it to the balance sheet. Because it becomes the balance sheet becomes the cost of sale, and then there is no budget, right? You can spend $1 billion a day as long as you're doing $10 billion of sales. So I would love to understand, according to you, what is the context of purpose and the evolution of the same, looking at that a lot of people like me get a little bit confused between mission, purpose, vision, and this whole thing, because we exist as a company to do this, but I'm not sure whether I'm doing it for others. So we'd love to know your thoughts of how purpose has evolved as per you.
So that's where marketeers dig holes for themselves, right? We created these words, mission, vision, etc., and then suddenly you realize we've caught ourselves in knots. But on a very simple note, for you, your purpose could very well be helping the marketing fraternity really justify their existence. And that's something we are challenged with currently, to be very honest. Yeah? If you're talking about moving cost from one side to the other, that's a huge thing. Yeah. Shiny spoke about marketing as the growth drivers, marketing as the change agents, and so on and so forth. Those are not easy expectations to live up to. So from that perspective, the purpose doesn't have to be change the world. Purpose can be, like I said, why do we exist for others? And for you, your others can be targeted at the marketing community. And that's absolutely valid. So I think where we get, I won't say confused, but where we falter is when we start giving scale as a criteria. And it doesn't have to have that scale as a criteria.
Like Bill Gates said that I want a desktop on every table. That can be a purpose, quotation marks?
I think that's ambition. Because it was just another way of saying, I want to make a big business.
Can I interject over here? So I've taken a whole session on all of these words because I heard so many of these words by so many marketing gurus that I thought I must try and bring some sanity to all of these complex words that are thrown around. So I'll try and translate it to very layman's English. Since we're all here in Goa, what would vision be? Vision is where do I want to go as a company? So for all of us who've flown in from different parts of India, our vision was, let's say, we want to get to Goa. It's the where. Where do I want to go? How far do I want to go? So as a company, how far do I want to go is my vision. The mission is how I'm going to get there. How am I going to get there? Maybe I'm going to take a long road trip along with my family members, and I will have this kind of music playing, and along the way I will do blah, 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 blah. So the mission is how I'm going to get there. The purpose is why I want to go to Goa. I want to go to Goa to meet a whole lot of interesting people so that I can use it to grow my business. So that's my purpose.
Why is to come and listen to this panel on purpose?
Okay, sorry, I got that wrong.
Yeah. So I think Schneider Electric has been doing a lot of things, and I've heard is the most sustainable company in the world. Give me some view on what that means and what are the things that you're doing from a key metric point of view.
So like I said, meaning for us, the key metric is that our goals and our purpose is defined to the UN SDG across all the 17 parameters, right? I think the biggest point is the whole electricity bit or the green electricity bit. Okay, so our solutions itself are providing or empowering people to use the most of energy and electricity, right? So, for example, one of the largest data center clients of ours, right? We helped modernize their facility to an extent that their emissions were 23% down, but their energy consumption is 40% up. So the fact that you can consume more and not actually do more emissions is something which is green electricity, right? Our plans are to actually reduce 800 million tons of carbon emissions and actually provide green electricity to 50 million people by 2030. Okay, so those are the kind of things which we're doing. Now, for us, in a humble way, it's more easier to say, okay, we are right in the middle of it, we are doing it, okay, etc., right? But I think there are more and more companies, like I said, are looking at it from a point of view of saying that, how do we just build it in a narrative, right? Because remember, purpose is not only about energy, green, climate, it is also about diversification. It's also about diversity. It's about gender equality. It's about giving more chances to youth, okay, etc., etc. I think that is the narrative also which people are taking for. And just to add, then, why is it also happening? Okay, that's also one important point. Okay, there are various data points, but also remember one of the biggest data points is in the last 1.5 years, the maximum investment which has happened from an investor community point of view is in environmentally conscious companies. The fastest growing funds in the world are ESG funds. Okay, there is a shift happening both from an investor community and from a people point of view also. Okay. 60% of the people who have graduated from the US say that their careers will be aligned to companies who are actually more purpose-driven. There is a shift happening. And so you see that narrative also playing out in companies.
No, I fully agree because, I take back the developed country versus emerging markets to a little bit because 3 years ago, I was in the Arctic Circle, went to sort of 91 or whatever, 85 degrees north or whatever. There were 85 people, out of which 15 of them were Indians who had been sponsored by some companies to come there, right? So that was a significant population out of the 85 people, 15 people were Indians. And I could easily see that they were all youngsters who were passionate about climate change. And I feel that I think today, again, it may be that 5% of India's population, but fortunately and unfortunately, that 5% controls 90% of the consumption in almost all categories, right? So there is also that the buying power of that 5% is pretty significant, right? Whether they are teenagers or that, the Gen Z has a huge buying power. So, Vani, I wanted to ask you a question. Does every brand need a purpose? Is it like, as we talked about to audiences, does like every single brand need a purpose, or you can not have a purpose and still do well?
So I work with a lot of young entrepreneurs. I work with young companies. And very often, because purpose has now become the fashionable thing to pursue, a lot of young entrepreneurs ask me, should we be doing emotional advertising? What sort of a higher order benefit should I be chasing? What kind of purpose should I be latching on to? Now, let's say if I'm a young bread company, a young bakery brand, I've just launched. I'm selling breads and cakes. Now, if I'm selling breads and cakes, then I can't start talking about saving the whales and saving the tortoise. It doesn't make any sense. Because at the end of the day, I need to sell my bread. And what do I need to do to sell my bread, like I said earlier, is to become known, is to be in the consideration set of people. So, purpose does not have to be narrowly defined within what sounds good to chase as a goal. Save the climate, deforestation, blah, 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 blah. All of those very typical things that we think about when we think about purpose does not necessarily have to be purpose. It depends on what you are functionally offering. So, for example, if I am a bread company, my purpose is to put better bread on your table. If I'm a chewing gum company, my purpose is to keep you occupied or to make you feel a little more confident when you're in a group, when you need to be doing something and you need to keep your jaws occupied. I could be an an entertainment company, or my purpose could be as simple as just making you smile. That's a great purpose to have. My purpose could be to keep you, to get a laugh out of you. So I'm saying purpose does not have to have a narrow definition. Purpose must be linked to what you functionally deliver. Only then is it authentic. Otherwise, consumers will not remember it also. At the end of the day, yes, a brand can do good stuff. And that is what CSR is about. I think often actually CSR agenda versus purpose is terribly confused. For example, Pepsi, our CSR agenda was always to replace the water table. And hence, the CSR agenda was to replace the water table or to replenish the water table, but different brands pursue different purpose. So, for example, Mirinda, because it is Pagalpanti and it is humor and it is entertainment, Mirinda's purpose was to, create the sense of irreverence amongst both kids and parents and let parents realize that it's all right for kids to just study on their own. It's all right to let the pedal off the pressure of what exams are all about. So, net, my point is every brand does not have to have a purpose. And purpose is often terribly bastardized in the way it is used. It's all right to do the simple things like make me smile. I'd be much happier with a brand that makes me smile than a brand that tells me I save whales, and God knows what they might be doing.
But I've been making you laugh since morning, huh?
Yes, thank you.
I actually know of a bread company who's selling it 150 rupees a loaf, saying that we are saving the planet. So you might want to talk to them. Or trying to sell it.
Yeah, but I think, Vani, one of the things you said, I think it's a very interesting thing that even a small company can actually figure out some kind of generosity in their operations, right? Because in my book also there is like generosity gives you happiness. It's paid forward. There is a lot of oxytocin. You just become happier when you're generous. So if we can just put a little bit of generosity and pixie dust of generosity in our startups, that itself can be, we don't have to save the whales, right? We can just start somewhere. It could be a small thing and that will lead to something bigger eventually. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, Viral, was that it's sort of two questions. One question is that you've worked across many organizations from telecom to real estate to, how has the purpose evolved? And has it been important in some, like, I can't even imagine how you would describe a purpose for a real estate organization.
Can I quickly jump in over here because he mentioned telecom. There was a telecom brand, by the way, that was talking about saving the tigers. And we were all wondering, how is this telecom brand saving the tigers?
And second thing is like this doing good beyond marketing, right? Is it like, this is just the tip of the iceberg or not? Just the evolution of it. If you come across organization where you worked, where you've seen that they've gone beyond from a marketing point of view.
Yeah, so I'll take a very different analogy, right? I'll compare it to two people when they first meet and get into a relationship, right? When you first meet, it's the more transactional, and if I might risk calling it the shallow elements, right? How the other person looks, how they dress, how they talk, and how well-mannered they are, and do they make me laugh, and so on and so forth. And then as the relationship evolves, and let's say they are into a long-term relationship, that's when it moves beyond the physical, it moves into feelings, emotional connect, common life goals, and so on and so forth. And that's when, and if you take a 30-year relationship, it goes well beyond all of that into a very, very deep connect. And I'd say that's similar to the journey of purpose, right? Marketing or brands have always had a purpose. It started with, in the good old days of getting people to recognize a shape and linking that shape to a certain quality. And from there, educating them that that quality is what was good for them in the very early days. And now it's evolved and moved to that 30-year-old marriage where it's gotten into a far more intellectual, so to speak, or emotional plane. I think the difference, of course, is that for brands, they need to do both. At one level, they have a set of consumers with whom they are in a 30-year relationship and are at that level. And at the same time, they're dating with other consumers and they need to be physically attractive and still attract them, right? So it is a continuum, and that's the challenging part. So, what Atin said about Schneider is at that level, and Vani is scaring me by picking up the mic. But what she said about, a bread, right? But that bread is at the bottom of the evolution curve, so to speak. And, okay, go ahead, say your piece.
I wanted to say, don't assume if you are in a 30-year relationship, you don't need to look physically attractive. I wouldn't recommend you ignore that bit.
Okay, I must make sure you note me, my wife, but okay. So
This is how you digress from purpose to something else, but anyway.
exactly. But I think, coming to the second point you made, from a marketing point of view, it is the tip of the iceberg, right? So let me give you the example of Mahindra Life Spaces, right? We've had a 100% green portfolio from 2013. But if I had started talking about it in 2014, it wouldn't have made any sense. Today in 2021, I can talk about it a lot more confidently, and it has credibility, right? So there's a lot that's happened over the years. For example, we've actually in the last 7 years collected, recycled, composted something like 140,000 tons of waste. Now, today that has scale, it has volume, right? So I think from that point of view, it is the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of work that has to happen as an organization, as a brand, to actually put your money where your mouth is before you can open your mouth. And I think that becomes hugely critical. Otherwise, it just becomes a campaign. It just becomes an ad, a one-off, but it doesn't really mean anything to people who are, trying to make a point or trying to stand for something.
Sorry, just to add, just to compliment, the change of talking about sustainability, purpose, and everything is not that it's been happening. It's just started. It is after COVID when, meaning, does anybody know a number how much from a dollar value point of view COVID has led to economic loss? Quickly, anybody? $22 trillion. Now, when that happens, suddenly people are talking about sustainability, talking about digital change, and suddenly you see in the last 1.5 years, every news website will have a port of sustainability or EVs. It's just been a tectonic shift.
Yeah,
here.
but that's the point I'm making, Atin, that everybody's talking about it now, but the people who can talk about it a lot more confidently are the ones who've been doing it for years to say, hey, been there, done that kind of a thing. So I think that's the big difference.
Yeah, and which is to Vani's point that you can't just get into it, right? We started our journey 15 years back. 15 years back is when we started taking the SDG goals and say, now things have come in place so we can go and market it. It's not a thing which you can just switch on. So purpose is there, but you can't just say it because then you will be shallow. Then people will, and that's what's happening. As a generation, we are now realizing what climate change's purpose is. So if somebody comes and says, I'm saving the whales and making a bread company, yaar, ye paise bana raha hai khali. It is actually authentic now. It is no longer just a hearsay or a mouthpiece because my media agency has decided or my creative agency has decided. I think that is a change which is happening for authentic brand.
So if I can just add to that, taking off from what both of you said actually, purpose makes sense. It is authentic when it is credible, which means that you are actually doing it, that you have good reason to do it, and B, when it is also linked to the brand's own pursuit of acquiring new consumers and delivering what it does do. So like I was taking Lifebuoy's example, there's another great example of Lacoste. That brand has this little crocodile, as the logo over here, and that's how we all recognize that as the Lacoste t-shirt. Now, they pursued this purpose of creating awareness for the many other animals that are going extinct. They had a percentage of their fund actually going towards that. They were actively contributing and driving that agenda. And towards that, they beautifully linked it with the brand by changing that crocodile to different animals that were going extinct. In doing that, not only are they doing what they're doing authentically, because they're actually doing something about it, they're also using that purpose to drive their own brand agenda, which is to make sure that they are more deeply connected with consumers. That is a great example of doing purpose right. But I, as a brand that's, let's just say, selling chewing gums, and as chewing gums, I suddenly start talking about transgender rights, it does nothing for the brand, and it actually ends up doing more damage because it's not credible enough.
So I think in the end, I would like to say we have 30 seconds left. There's two, three things. That first thing is what you mentioned, that a lot of times purpose is used to apply for creative awards. So basically, it's CSR equals creative equals award. It's like, and then that's the reason probably some of these things happen. But I think what I've learned from the session is, right, I think first thing is that start small, but start. I think I was just looking at it, right, that today I'm passionate about table tennis, or I'm passionate about startups, I'm passionate about this. So I know that my passions can link to Profit Wheel, and I can do some things in those areas. What I do personally, I can do it through a company. Whether it's purpose or not, whether it's vision or not, doesn't matter, but at least all of us can start, right? And 15 years down the line, when this will be important, that's a time when hopefully we are a large company, and we would have started 15 years ago, then we can talk about it then, right? Second thing, I think overall, what I've realized is that I think collecting first-party data and engaging your consumers is going to be very, very critical, right? Because I think future is about owning first-party data, and I feel that if you support a cause, I think you can build a community around it, and that community will support the cause that your purpose is all about, and that actually will be your most engaged customers. So if you just, I'm just looking at it, digital is about paid, social, and organic. All three of them are going to be driven by content, and I think purpose will play a very important role. I was just thinking to myself, I said, you know, people ask me what kind of content should we create. Finding the right purpose and then creating content community around it can be a very effective strategy for content creation that can last in years, right? Because I think that's one of the things that I thought I'll share. But thanks a lot, everyone. If anybody has any one question, then we can that, but time's up. Thanks a lot, and I think we're open for drinks immediately after this. More important, and I think the purpose of coming to Goa.
Hi, thank you for a great session. Just a quick one. I want to shift your lens to, so we are all speaking about purpose from an external perspective, and you did talk about how we need to change as an internal team also to drive purpose. So two quick questions and thoughts for everybody. How do you do the internal change management? Because I think purpose is, and like you said, it's not necessarily important to have purpose, but I think having a purpose adds value. So any thoughts on change management there internally? And second, while it drives business externally, I think the generation we're all hiring, and I happen to be from an organization of 11,000 engineers just in India and then 22,000 across the globe. People are joining companies more and more to drive passion with purpose drives passion, right? So they want to work for a purposeful organization. So are you seeing that trend too? I think everybody's reading about it, talking about it, but then internally, you definitely need to have purpose to drive people in that direction. So being a company without purpose might leave you without talent. So any thoughts there?
You know, it's very difficult to pursue purpose or drive change within the organization or get people to start thinking purpose if purpose is another project to be pursued in parallel. Then it becomes a oh ye bhi. Then it can't be done. It cannot become a oh ye bhi. It has to be part and parcel. It has to be a natural outcome of what the company is doing. So, for example, if this bunch of engineers is, is bringing data to companies in a way that will help them make better sense of business across departments, then that's a great purpose to have. Because my purpose then is to help companies make more money by creating more data transparency across different departments which are otherwise insular.
Or doing something to change human life, just driving purpose.
I'm saying purpose does not have to be about the environment and about saving the whales and about, if my purpose is to help companies make more money. That's great purpose to have. And if in the process I'm using less paper, if that is an outcome, then you could say, yes, I'm also using less paper and hence I'm helping the environment. But that is a natural outcome. It's not something that I'm not going to change my entire business model only because I'm looking to save. Exactly.
Having said that, I always say, and I've read this, I don't say it myself, but repeat what I've read, that what CMOs and CDOs have been doing for digital transformation for last decade, COVID has done in 1 year. I add, is also sustainability. So if you want to do change management, now's the time. Go to any CEO, say we want to do something sustainable. They're like, yes, kyun mera naam aayega TV ke andar. So that's happening right now. So there are some group, and that's why there are a group of people in organizations whose value systems are more close to purpose rather than doing profitability, who are now rolling this narrative which is globally happening and pushing this internally. That's why you're seeing most of the companies actually adopting it. It's not because everybody's gotten up. The narrative is being built like this, okay? That is what people are talking about right now. So internal change management is now the easiest to do.
So let me give a slightly different view. I think we're confusing culture with purpose, right? And what you're talking about is people who want to join a certain company who believes in something. I think what they're actually saying is who want a company that behaves in a certain way, right? And that's really what it's all about. Because at the end of the day, in every organization is a classic pyramid where you have 80% of people, at the bottom. They're not going to relate with the United Nations, development goals. But what that results in as an environment, as a culture, is what they relate with. Yeah. So if I was to, since we're quoting, if I was to quote Anand Mahindra, he says, it's not about how big you become, but it's also about how you become big. Yeah. And I think that's what people connect with. Yes, the purpose drives it, but I think purpose drives beliefs, and that's what determines behavior, and that's really what attracts people.
Okay, I'm getting a lot of looks from Shiny, so I'm going to end the panel. Yeah, it's okay. One more question is fine. Okay.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah. So purpose has two things, right? So I'm going to take an example of Nike as an example. I read the Phil Knight, the founder of Nike's book. He spoke about how purpose for him was about inspiring and motivating people. And that's why he came up with things such as Just Do It and a lot of other things that people would resonate with. And inspiration and motivation is something that we as consumers already have. So he found that point, right? Like that customers might get affected. What about the other way? So if I as a brand, as Vani said, that your purpose is why you want to do it. So I work for a company and there's a reason why we do it, but how do we make it resonate with our end customer? So that's what I'm trying to understand. Like, how do I make them mirror the same emotion that I'm trying to emote? Of course, not in terms of logistics, but in terms of just a resonation.
I think the best way to get it resonated with customers is to make a fantastic media plan, which most of the partners can help you do it. The point is that there is no, in my view, there's another counterpoint to it also. Everybody's talking about it now, right? So after a while, it will just become hearsay. I mean, it'll be everybody's just talking about it. At the end of it, it will be owned by people who are actually doing it something. You took an example of a brand who've been doing it for ages, and so now when somebody goes and talks to them about sustainability, they're like, dude, come on. I mean, don't teach your father, what. So the point is that, again, I'm coming back to the same point, okay? It is not a brand narrative which you can pick up today. If you do not have credentials, like Vani said, if you have not been doing it, it will not resonate, okay? It is the actions which you're doing also, right? You can keep on blasting and you put 100 million euro spend on it, okay? But if you don't see any action, it's not going to happen. That is where it's changing. People are becoming smarter to understand when brands are fibbing and brands are actually making an impact.
It's in the do. It's not just in the media decibel levels. You can scream, I'm a great purpose-driven brand. My purpose is to do blah, blah, blah. But if you're not doing anything about it, if it's not apparent in what your products are, if it's not apparent in the way you sell, it's not apparent in the range you have, it's not apparent in your services, then in any case, people are going to call you a liar. So it's more important that you do. than you communicate. If you do it, then it will become self-apparent. For example, like you're saying with Nike, what does Nike say? Nike says, so long as you have a body, you're an athlete. That's the only requirement. Nike doesn't say you have to have great fast legs, you have to have long legs, or you have to have great muscle power. Nike is not saying any of that. Nike is saying so long as you have a body, you're an athlete. Which means that Nike is then telling you that we will provide for whatever it takes. So long as you have a body, we will help you become a better athlete. And hence their range of products, everything that they have is in line with that. And hence I see Nike as a purpose-driven company. So Nike's purpose is to make an athlete out of me. Me, the couch potato, who's very happy to only watch Netflix and just walk from my room to the kitchen, is also Nike's consumer. In the mind, Nike is saying, I will make an athlete out of you, and that's great purpose. And they don't have to say it, they don't have to scream it from the rooftops.
Just one thing to add, right? You mentioned about how do I communicate my purpose and how do I make them passionate about what my purpose is, right? So the way I look at it is, right, I think when you, as an organization or as a person, find your purpose, you're going to actually find people who are passionate about the same purpose. Rather than trying to make you passionate about table tennis, I am passionate about table tennis. I want India to win an Olympic medal in table tennis. And I've been working on it for the last 10 years. I own a table tennis team. Now every single other person who is passionate about table tennis will join my cause, and they'll be passionate and they'll probably work with me and they'll work with that. Similarly with startups or whatever, right? Or happiness, right? So now the thing is, if I have to sell table tennis to you and communicate, regardless of how much media budget I have, I cannot make you passionate about something that you're not. So the way I look at it is that if we find what we are passionate about as a company or as a person, and then we build a community around it, all the people who are equally passionate about that cause will become a part of us, and collectively we'll achieve things, right? So that's my 2 bits on it. Yeah, suddenly like you know, ये question answer में फिर वो, and then suddenly you'll say 8:30 bar closed.
So I had a question specifically for Atin. So you mentioned that you and Schneider Electric has actually turned theoretical concepts and the UN goals into KPIs for your own company. So how do you turn theoretical concepts, which can be a bit arbitrary, into quantifiable, into tangible indicators which can be measured and tracked quantifiably, in quantifiable terms? So if you could just give an example and elaborate on that.
Yeah, so the UN goals in some sense are quantifiable. There are 17 clear goals. They actually say things like eradicate poverty, okay, give water, electricity, everything, right? Now, in those, there are various parameters, right? There's emissions, etc., right? So I think one of the ways of doing it is that, let me give you an example, okay? As a world, most of the people are saying by 2050, you have to become carbon neutral. By 2050 means that 50% of the emissions have to be reduced by 2030. 2030 is tomorrow, right? So the point is that there is a baseline number, and then where can you reach, okay? That's exactly. It is no different, and which is why sustainability finance is another big topic, where it looks at KPI-driven sustainable metrics the same way you look at profitability, okay? Now, tomorrow you can come and tell me, okay, I want to be 100 crores tomorrow. Why? Because of XYZ reasons, right? You put your EBITDA margins, you put it this, you do your calculus, your everything, all those things, okay? That's the same thing which is happening for sustainability, okay? For me, I would just change the topic to saying that how do you put those goals? Figure it out. At least put some goals, right? It could be only a 10% increase or 20% increase in my total emissions, etc. I think that is more and more important. But to answer your question, there's actually a whole field which is being built up, and we're actually also there, okay? So Schneider also does sustainability consulting, okay, where we actually go to people and say, how do you become sustainable? Okay, post that if you want to use our products or not, that's your call completely. But that involves completely looking at what you're doing, how much are you impacting the environment, and then seeing where do you want to reach, which is in line with those 17 goals which are put by UN. So I think that's the way you get to at least some numbers.
So basically, sustainability finance as a field is emerging, which is allowing sustainability to have a more data-driven approach.
If I just add to that, so totally so far the valuation of the ESG impact that Mahindra as a group has had is $4 billion, right, which is 22% of its global revenue. But that to the average associate means nothing. But how do you arrive at that 4 billion? Is by when you break it down and actually give relevant individual KPIs that ladder up to that 4 billion. So I think that's also part of the reason why one needs to break it down.
Hi, Atin. I'm sure you've kind of very clearly articulated how well the SDG goals have been, kind of played out or mapped out into your company's goals and kind of aligned. You've had your company aligned. But my simple question is, and we understand that sustainable companies obviously are successful. We've seen 2 examples right in front of us. But if there was only one choice for a company to be either pursuing the sustainable or the goals of sustainability and being successful, and that is true for many companies, the bread company we were talking of, probably, it cannot, take up a goal. But if there's just one choice, how should a company then look at that? Because I know sustainable companies obviously will carry on for many more centuries. I mean, the idea of being sustainable is that you carry on beyond and go beyond. But if you have to be, is that an alternative to be successful, or can both coexist? I know it does, but for many companies it might be difficult.
Yeah. So that's where it's changing, right? So earlier it was the thing, do I be sustainable or do I be profitable? Okay. But what people are realizing, what companies are realizing, sustainability is also profitable. Okay. And that is the hidden secret, if I could say, is that the reason sustainability as a message is going up is not because, yes, meaning with all due respect, and I know I'm being recorded here, but I will request Shiny not to play that, is yes, there's a whole part of being better to the planet, but people also realizing that while doing that and with the geopolitical things which are happening, which is happening naturally, you're also looking at profitability. That's what Will just said, right? You're talking about a valuation plus multiplier, which is in a different way. That is what is changing now. So, for the first time in our history, profitability is actually helping sustainability. Okay, and I hope that continues and actually shows results, because right now it's just happening at the surface, right? We are seeing very small aspects to it, but now that's possible, and that's what we're seeing.
I was actually quite amazed with the figures Viral just shared. But Viral, if you were to just take this back, when you started it, obviously you would have found it really tough to convince, the rest of the board to say, okay, this is what we need to do. Today you do see a translation, in absolute figures. But how do you make that first step? How did you?
No, so actually, I think the fact is that I don't think it's a choice, because being sustainable has nothing to do with being successful, right? Let me take Vani's favorite food, right? That bread company, its sole objective can be just to make profits because it has to survive. But how it makes the bread, how does it distribute it, etc., has nothing to do with the profit, but that has to do with sustainability. So I don't think it's really an either or. One is about what, which is what do I want to do. The other is about how I do it. And that's really where the difference lies.
So they can coexist just
Absolutely.
by improving your processes.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, firstly, can we have a round of applause for that amazing, amazing discussion there?